What's up, guys? Can you believe it is already the first week of July? 2023 is just blowing right past us, but that means we have 6 full months worth of horror movies to talk about and to look back on. So today I want to do a fun little experiment where I hand out superlatives. And so I thought I'd hand out some bad ones, yes, but mostly good, because I want to talk about a year that's been fairly solid, if not all that great. Mostly 3.5 out of 5s, if you ask me. So we're going to get started with the big dogs. And of course, let me know what you would choose for each of these categories. But I already know you would choose for this category because I posed the question in a poll in the community tab. And I asked, what is the greatest horror movie of 2023 so far? And an overwhelming majority of you said Scream 6, and I tend to agree. Now look, Scream from 1996 is my favorite horror movie of all time. I don't think there's a single miss in the franchise yet. I love the Scream franchise, and Scream 6 just gave me more to adore and to cherish. I've already seen the movie multiple times, and I'm looking forward to purchasing the 4K next week when it comes out. Now, this movie, we moved to New York City from, Woodsboro, and man, did they get the most out of that change of scenery. We had Ghostface chasing our protagonists and other characters through the park, through the subway, through high rises, through movie theaters, through bodegas, so on and so forth. And this Ghostface was an absolute menace. There were so many standout moments to me that I didn't necessarily see in some other entries, like say Scream 3 or even Scream 5, which I do slightly prefer to Scream 6 because I think overall the script's a little bit tighter. But I can't really take too much from this movie. Yes, it gets hammy and it gets a little silly at times. Yes, there's some absolute logical fallacy going on. But are you not entertained? I am so entertained. I just sit back and have a ball with this movie. This is kind of what I want from my escapist horror slasher type affair. And Scream gave me so much of that, while also giving me cool new arcs for these new characters that have taken the baton from original legacy players. And it just has me salivating to see what's going to happen in Scream 7. So while I acknowledge the problems, man, are they outweighed by so many things that I'm just goo-goo over. Now, on the other side of that coin, my least favorite horror movie of the year is Skinamarink. Now, yes, I know that this has a fervent fan base online, and I would like to count myself among y'all, but I simply cannot. This was not in a movie that I've experienced and enjoyed whatsoever. As much as I wanted to, I can definitely tip my hat to the technical prowess and the way that they really did create this experience of what it is like when you are a little kid and you're up late at night and you just don't feel safe or secure and you don't know if you can go to your mom and dad's bedroom and get comfort or if they're going to be angry or upset. Just that feeling of being a little kid and feeling not quite all right and being kind of scared and perturbed by the darkness in your room. This movie definitely captured that experience, but there was absolutely no narrative and not enough to intrigue me to keep me on the hook, especially for over an hour and 40 minutes. This movie did what it set out to do, but I would have enjoyed it just as much if they did it in an 8-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute YouTube short, or if they did a series of these in different settings or with different children where they explored it just a little bit differently. But just doing the same little bit over and over again, it just started to feel like nonsense that I was absolutely numb to, and I cannot ever foresee myself going back to re-experience Skinamarink, as interesting and original of an experience as it may be. Now, my superlative for the biggest surprise of 2023, I'm going to go with Renfield, more specifically Nicolas Cage in Renfield. We know Nicolas Cage can ham it up. He can give you line deliveries like nobody else out there. We know he can be absolutely cheesy B-movie goodness, but this wasn't really that. I mean, it was for sure campy, but there were some really inspired acting choices and line deliveries by Nicolas Cage here that just worked and were effective on every level, to where I actually left the theater going, is Nicolas Cage on the Dracula Mount Rushmore? And I thought on that, and I sat and I pondered, and I went, you know what? Bela Lugosi, Christopher Lee, Gary Oldman. And yes, after Renfield, after how much fun that movie was and how much I just giggled and relished over the performance of Nicolas Cage, I'm surprised to say that he is now a top 4 Dracula for me, and I did not see that coming. Renfield was not a fantastic movie, but it was definitely a fun movie that knew exactly what it was and how it was highly stylized, and it was built around Nicolas Cage and his performance as Dracula, and that was a very smart decision. Now, my biggest letdown of the year so far, it has to be Megan. And yes, I know a lot of you adore this movie. I really wanted to. I really expected to, obviously, as I was let down. but I just felt I didn't get anything that I didn't already get in the trailer. All of the best bits were shown in that trailer, and there were no more highlights. The trailer truly was a highlight reel, and there was nothing else of value or substance within this movie for me. I thought our two main characters were very stock, very generic, and I could not connect myself to them whatsoever, which is a shame when this little girl has gone through so much in her life. It should be easy to feel for that child, but I just couldn't find myself doing that. While there was just a little bit here to chew on thematically, it was themes that we've seen explored over and over again in recent years, and I couldn't help but draw comparisons to the Child's Play remake from 2019, and I know a lot of you poo-poo on me for preferring that movie, but as I established with Scream, my heart lies with the slasher subgenre, and that movie was a much more visceral, grisly ride that had slasher flavorings, whereas this movie did not. Oftentimes we were cutting away just as things were getting really interesting, and it just left me going, not that good. And I know we're already set up for a sequel, but to me that's unfathomable when you think about the way this movie concluded, with the launch of Megan going so poorly and there being bloodshed at the event. That would be as if, with this Titanic submarine exploding, you were to go sign up next month for a new quest. Are you going to do that? No, and nobody would be buying another Megan doll. Moving right along, horror is of course always about the villain and the final girl, and that's what these next two awards will be about. Let's start with the villain, the best villain of 2023 so far. For me, it's the mommy deadite from Evil Dead Rise, as portrayed by Alyssa Sutherland, who I think did a great job in her silly, at times zany, but always intimidating and off-putting performance as our lead deadite. And I think she had great physical proportions and facial features for this role. I've talked about it at length now on this channel, that she has those great big eyes. She has this long, big, sneering grin. She's got the long limbs that allow her to do so much to lend more power to this character. And then they gave her great dialogue to where she can terrorize these children because the mother is dead, and she's saying things like, mommy is with the maggots now. She's calling them titty-sucking parasites. What? Can you imagine your mama staring you in the eye and calling you a titty-sucking parasite? Goodness, I hope not, my poor child. But anyway, I have to give it to her, and I know I'm not alone on this because a lot of you told me that Evil Dead Rise is your favorite Evil Dead movie. And while I ain't drinking the Kool-Aid that much, I can understand why a lot of people love this movie so much. To me, it was very solid, but so much of its strengths are some way harkening back to the central performance of Alyssa Sutherland, who to me is the best villain so far in 2023. Okay, so we have our best villains. We need our best final girl, final guy, final person, whatever. It's 2023 and everybody can be a hero. But I'm going old school. I'm going with a final girl. I'm going with the final girl for my favorite movie of the year. I'm going with Sam from Scream 6. Now, she has the unenviable task of assuming the baton from Sidney Prescott, who's a lot of people's favorite final girl of all time. And I think she's killing it. She's absolutely murdering it thus far. She shares a lot of similarities to Sidney, but where she strays, things are still pretty damn awesome with her. Now, she's self-sacrificing. She gives up a lot of her life and her own dreams to go be around Tara and protect her. And she has to have a relationship on the down low because she doesn't want to involve anybody who may gain access to her friends and family and then cause problems. So there's a lot to love about her on a morality side of things. But when you look at that good part of the morality, she's also the offspring of notorious serial killer Billy Loomis, which is such a cool thing to throw into the fold, especially because that means once she has carte blanche to turn on these Ghostface killers, she kills them in ways we have never seen before. The amount of pent-up anger and aggression that she just throws out there on people, I don't know if I've ever seen that from a final girl anywhere else. And I've seen it now 2 different times with Scream 5 and Scream 6, and I just love it more and more every time I rewatch either one of those movies. It's almost cathartic as an audience member to go through all these chase scenes and see so many characters you love get treated like pincushions, and then to see the killer get theirs, except this final girl is even more badass than they ever were. All right, for the next 2 superlatives, I want to talk about a movie that is so disturbing I don't think I'll ever forget it, and a movie that I will almost assuredly forget within the next week. I don't know how I've clung on to it so far. Now, the most disturbing movie of 2023 so far is without a doubt Infinity Pool. Now, Brandon Cronenberg is, of course, the son of David Cronenberg, but he is no Nepo baby. It turns out the ability to disturb and just rock and unsettle audiences runs in the family. master filmmaking, master craftsmanship here, and the way he set up these scares, and he sets up this imagery that's really challenging and dares you to not, cover your eyes. The way that he combines violence and sex, the light, the color, the flashing, everything going on so much that it was such a trying experience at times to watch Infinity Pool. And I mean that in the most complimentary of ways. I will not be forgetting the things I was treated into this movie, but it's not just all the sights and the gags and the visuals. It's also the disturbing element at the core of the movie where we find out that once we are treated to a certain level of wealth and power, we begin to just strip ourselves of our own humanity and become capable of just such malice and injustice that's disturbing too. So every ounce of everything within Infinity Pool is stuff that will make you go, "Ugh." And then we have Knock at the Cabin. Now look, when I saw Knock at the Cabin originally, I was like, okay, solid. 3.5 out of 5. And every week since seeing the movie, I feel like I forget more and more about it. And as I look back on it now, all I can really remember is basically the central conceit of it's the apocalypse, 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, a pretty dang good performance by David Bautista. And then it all is just an underwhelming finale that made me go, okay, I see what we were doing there. And I remember as I was watching going, okay, I'm picking up the themes there. I guess they're nice. But now, all these months later, I go, what were those themes again? What was the highlight? What was the cool moment? What was the point of... That's what I'm saying. The movie is just fading so fast. So while it is more solid than some of the other works we've received from M. Night Shyamalan, it didn't set itself apart whatsoever. I mean, Old is a movie that, sure, it has all sorts of problems and warts all over it, but there's so many crazy visuals and strange choices within the script that it's still burned in my brain, and I'm not going to forget Old. I don't need to rewatch that movie anytime soon to just run you through all the highs and the lows of that film. Knock at the Cabin, I'd be hard-pressed to tell you much of anything. All right, guys, we have 2 more to go. And if you are still following along and having a good time, I would implore you to go ahead and hit subscribe so you can catch all the other content here on the channel as we gear up for the rest of the year. And we will cap things off, of course, with the ranking of everything we watched this year. We'll do the top 10 best, the top 10 worst. We'll do another Superlatives video. We'll talk about everything in 2023. And it's going to be a good time, so make sure you're a part of it. But now, the best kill of 2023. I'm going to do kind of a cop-out here, and I'm just going to say Cocaine Bear. Because the kills in Cocaine Bear were grisly, pun intended, vicious, brutal, and at times laugh-inducing, but I mean that in a very positive way. And when I think of Cocaine Bear, I'm like, I don't give a crap about any of the human characters. Any sort of emotional thing they went for, the comedy, it never landed with me. But anytime the CGI bear was on screen, he was eviscerating people in ways that I could not have hoped for when I saw that trailer. We have people being disemboweled. We have people getting their skulls chomped down on. We have people getting their wrists smashed and cut and bone exposed. We have anything you can think of this bear does to these people. I mean, there's a moment in the cabin where the bear decides he wants to play Jason Voorhees and he just becomes a slasher. It was great. I mean, everything about the kills and Cocaine Bear was so much better than I could have hoped for. It's hard to narrow it down to one. They are all great. I can't think of a single kill that bear inflicts on these people in these woods that wasn't great. The other elements of the movie, not so fantastic. But if you were just there for bloodshed and just going swinging for the fences, that's what this bear did. And that's why I'm just so excited for Meth Gator and Crack Coon. All right, we've arrived at our final distinction of the evening, and it is the biggest one, and you guys are going to hate me for this because a lot of you do not like this movie, but the scariest movie of 2023 so far is The Boogeyman. Now, yes, are a lot of the scares we have seen before in some capacity. Sure, I will say that, sure, but it's kind of, to me, like watching The Conjuring and going, you know what, I've seen paranormal movies before, I've seen these type of scares. Yeah, but that movie just executes them at a whole nother level. And to me, through the use of light or lack of light, through the use of music and sound design, through creature design, through emotional resonance that really attach you to these characters, through the way this movie set up stakes with its opening scene where you can see anybody, man, woman, or child, can get killed by this being, and that we then got so invested in this family, and that we had this young girl in the movie that we really wanted to, come out unscathed, and to find out that she very much gets scathed in this movie. It just made the movie very tense for me. And yes, there were times I was like, they're going to do the thing. They still made me jump. And there's even moments where I kind of was like, okay, I'm in the rhythm with this movie now. I know this old song and dance. And then they would catch me off guard and just blow me out of my theater seat, because I was like, you're not supposed to do a scare there. Nobody does a scare there, but the boogeyman did a scare there. And that's why, for me, so far, it is the scariest movie of 2023. So let me know your selections for all these categories down below. Let me know your thoughts on my thoughts. Hit like, hit subscribe, all the old YouTube, yada, yada, yada. And as always, I implore you to have yourself a fantastic day. I'm Nate for natemareflix saying that's a wrap.